What's up, Dolphins fans? This is Fins Nation with Louis Sung. Clearly, I am not, well, not clearly, it's just a voice, not a face, right? But clearly from the voice, I am not Louis Sung, but I am in charge, quote unquote, for today's show and was able to talk about whatever I wanted to. So today, I decided to talk about Chris Grier, who I love, but is terrible at drafting the offensive line, clearly. But before we get into that, I wanted to get into our sponsors. Our first sponsor there is You Break Wheel Fix. They're a wheel repair and remanufacturing company with over 20 years of experience. They specialize in complete wheel repair, repairing wheels from curb rash, bends, and cracks. They also specialize in refinishing, polishing, machining, and custom colors that will suit your car's needs. Lastly, You Break Wheel Fix offers a full array of factory and custom wheel and tire applications. Contact them at 305-748-0112 and or at You Break Wheel Fix on all social media platforms and get your wheels upgraded today. This show is also brought to you by PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is the revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues. NFL, NBA, MLB, one of each. It's up to you. And choose whether your chosen player will get more or less than their projected stat. They give you free squares, special Taco Tuesday promos, Flex Friday specials to where you get your money back if you lose or multiply the amount of money you can win. So with offers like that, it's hard to justify not signing up. So use your promo code FIVE, that's F-I-V-E, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Again, that's promo code FIVE. Spell that out. PrizePicks.com, who we at 5 Reasons Sports are proud to have as our sponsors. All right. Back into our subject. First things first, I wanted to just hit on a little news before we get into it. The Miami Dolphins have decided to extend Durham Smythe. I don't know if that makes people happy, that makes people sad. I think it's pretty clear, and maybe it's a subject for another episode, that the Dolphins are kind of going in a different direction with what they want with tight end, clearly, with who they've signed, and now extending Durham Smythe. This is, I believe, his second contract extension, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it is. So clearly they're going in a different direction there, and that'll be something to be talked about as the offseason goes on. We still have a draft coming up, and we know they're probably talking to a lot of these tight end prospects from the second round down. So it should be interesting to see what tight end looks like come training camp this year. All right, so back into, or get into, the subject at hand, and that's Chris Grier. Now, I love Chris Grier. I really do. I think he's done a phenomenal job putting this roster together. I don't think there's many people that disagree. This is one of the best rosters in the NFL. And we've thought in the past as Dolphins fans, trust me, we all get pumped as Dolphins fans for this team. We build ourselves up. We sell ourselves on the team every single year. And then we go and we turn on the sports show and we get frustrated because we don't see the Dolphins talked about. They're not talking about the Dolphins. They're not talking about the Dolphins. They're underrating us, man. Tannehill's going to be good, man. We got Mike Wallace now. We got Ndamukong Suh. Like, we've been through all of it, thinking that this is the year the Dolphins are going to be so good. Oh, we got this coach. Oh, we got Bill Parcells. It's just been a never-ending. I've been a Dolphins fan since 1983. I was 7 years old, something like that. I've been a Dolphins fan for a long time. So, obviously, I enjoyed all the Marino years as a kid. I was spoiled. I didn't know how good I had it. And then we've just been through some tough times. But now, all of a sudden, the last couple of years, not only do we think we have a good roster, a really good roster, I think most of the pundits think we have a really good roster and going to be a very competitive team. And Chris Grier is heavily responsible for most of that. He's had some real good draft picks, and I have people say, oh, he's had some bad drafts. What about the 2020 draft, man? Well, we got Tua out of that. I'm a Tua fan myself. I believe in Tua. Mike McDaniel believed in Tua enough to tie himself to him, right? Is his first opportunity to be a head coach, and he's like, I'm tying myself to this guy right now, right away. And I think it paid off. Yes, Tua got hurt, but I think we saw what Tua could be. And I think he'll be even more of that this year. One thing that's been lacking, right, in Chris Grier's repertoire, if you will, of draft picks, of good draft picks, the offensive line. I mean, it's been rough. It's just been rough. What can you say? And we're gonna go through that. We're gonna pick on Chris Grier and his issue with the offensive line right here. So we're gonna start. We're not gonna nail Chris Grier to the wall when he was just, say, an area scout. So he was an area scout with Miami. He's been with Miami for 23 years. He was an area scout from 2000 to 2002. He was a national scout and assistant director of college scouting from 03 to 07. We're not going to pin him against the wall too much for those years. But when he pops up in there in 2007 as the director of college scouting, he bears some responsibility for the drafting from 07 to 2015 before he became general manager. He does bear some responsibility. Ultimately, were those decisions his? No. But those decisions were made in part by the information he was responsible to collect and the scouting reports he was responsible to put together. That cannot be denied, especially when you get out of the first round. You and I could draft some of these dudes out of the first round, right? Like some of these picks, okay. Not just talking about Chris Grier, I'm talking about anywhere in the NFL. Some of these guys are obvious. So we'll start, how about, with 2007. If I can find the right spot. Okay, I got the right tab now. All right, so 2007. We did not draft an offensive lineman. Nope, we drafted Drew Mormino at center. Okay, I got to be honest with you. I've been a Dolphins fan a long time. I've done multiple Dolphins podcasts. I've even had a chance to cover camp one time in 2018, I think it was. So I've been around a little bit, but I've definitely been a fan of nothing else, big time. I pay attention in the season, I pay attention in the off season, I read the articles, I'm on Twitter, I'm in Discord, I'm whatever, right? I don't even know who that is. I'm just saying. So then the next year we drafted Jake Long in the first round. Okay, well, many may argue, and this was definitely not a Chris Grier decision, but whoever the GM was at the time, Bill Parcells' decision, really, to take that. Many will argue that we should have taken Matt Ryan over Jake Long. That's a different situation, but I don't think anyone was arguing that Jake Long wasn't going to be a good offensive lineman. Now, had he not gotten hurt, I personally think he'd have been a bona fide Hall of Famer without a doubt, like walked into first ballot Hall of Fame. He was phenomenal, but his body broke down on him so quickly. Doesn't really take your head of college scouting report to know you got to draft Jake Long. It's when you get into those lower rounds, the second and below, that's where that scouting report matters. So that same year we drafted Sean Murphy. I don't even remember who that is. And Donald Thomas. I do remember who that is, and I don't want to talk about it. How about that? So there you go there. And then 2009, we drafted Andrew Gardner. Actually, for a 6th-round pick, it wasn't terrible. It was a 6th-round pick. I'm not going to pick on anybody drafted. We know how it turned out for a 6th-round pick. 2010, the offensive lineman we drafted was John Jerry. Wasn't great with Miami. Did a little better when I think he went to the Giants, if I recall. It's a mixed bag there. I don't think it was great. Then we drafted in 2011 Mike Pouncey, but in the first round. Again, it's kind of like the Jake Long situation. You and I could draft Mike Pouncey. Like, we see him on the board. Dolphins need offensive linemen. When do Dolphins not need offensive linemen? We got one of the best rosters we've ever had since, like, the Marino years, and we still have the two biggest holes on our team are sitting in that offensive line right now in left guard and right tackle. We always need offensive linemen. But Mike Pouncey, that's kind of a no-brainer. I don't really think that Chris Grier's influence probably affected that. I think that's just obvious. 2012, the offensive lineman we draft, Jonathan Martin. Let's not even go there. Then we drafted Dallas Thomas in 2013. That's really, let's not talk about that. So that was the lineman we drafted then. That was in the 3rd round. And then in the 2014, we drafted Juwan James in the first round. But again, another first-round pick, another obvious guy. He's the guy to take first round. Then we drafted Billy Turner. Now, I'll give him Billy Turner because Billy Turner left Miami and ended up being something. I mean, the guy's still out there. I think he's a free agent. He could even be on this team again this year, really depending on his injury situation. I don't know exactly what his injury situation is. I believe he's out there as a free agent unless he's been signed the last few days and I missed it. Now, he could even end up being a Dolphin again. But that wasn't a terrible pick. That wasn't terrible. Then the next year, 2015, now we're into Grier is the GM. We're in his first year GM. He drafted Jamil Douglas. Not good. Then we drafted Laramie Tunsil. I'll give him credit because this is the kind of thing that Chris Grier. This is where Chris Grier becomes Chris Grier. Obviously, we know for multiple reasons the Laramie Tunsil trade, or I should say draft to start, had one of the biggest effects on this team, positive effects ever. First of all, he was really good. Yeah, obviously he had that mask bong thing. And I have to say, in 2023, if that mask bong happens in 2023, the Baltimore Ravens draft Tunsil. He doesn't get down to us. So that's just interesting. I don't think anyone, I would say no one cares, but it sure wouldn't have been the freak out that we saw in 2016. So kudos to Grier. Not for necessarily scouting the player and the talent. The player and the talent was obvious. That guy could have been a first overall pick. I mean, he was just super talented as a prospect. And even as a player, he's been phenomenal. But he's super talented as a prospect back then. So it was obvious as far as the talent, but it was risky at the time. So I'm going to give him kudos on that one. The next year, Isaac Asiata in 2017, I think he became a police officer 2 years later, so clearly that didn't work out. That was in the 5th round. Then the next year, we didn't draft a lineman. Now pay attention to we didn't draft a lineman. We don't give passes for that. Were there good linemen in that draft? I guarantee you. Let's talk about this one. The biggest hole on this team, and everybody knows it, is right tackle. You had sitting in your hands last year, Zach Tom, who's going to be a starter in Green Bay. And Green Bay is an embarrassment of riches for offensive linemen in Green Bay. So it's not like they're desperate starting the guy. The guy straight up was talented and earned his right to be in that starting spot. Why didn't you draft him, man? It's not just who you're drafting. It's not just these bad players and these bad picks. It's who you're not drafting. And Zach Tom is the biggest example that I can think of a missed opportunity there. Let's see here. And then in 2018, we didn't, like I said, we just mentioned we did not draft a lineman. 2019, we drafted Michael Dieter. Well, we all know how that turned out. Not so great. Isaiah Prince, not so great. I mean, man, this track record ain't great. And then in 2020, obviously we had the big hole with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now, something clicked in him here a little bit. He got Robert Hunt in the 2nd round. It was a great pick. It was pick number 39. It was a great pick, right? Robert Hunt's been he's not been a Pro Bowler, but man, he plays at like almost a Pro Bowl level. He's been good. If you can do that in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, I'm not even doing this show. I'm doing this show on, what's tight end going to look like this year? It's not going to be about why are you so bad at drafting linemen, Chris Grier. But Robert Hunt, great pick. Then we had Solomon Kinley in the 4th. It's kind of mixed. It's not the worst lineman that Chris Grier ever drafted, that's for sure, but definitely not the best. And then Larnell Coleman in 2021, who I don't know if he's still on the team as far as will he be on practice squad. I don't know if he was practice squad last year. Forgive me for not knowing that, but I honestly don't even remember. And then in 2022, obviously he passed on Zach Tom. They took Eric Ezunkama. And my concern with this was all of our hope, like it's no secret, and it hasn't been a secret, that Chris Grier isn't great at drafting offensive linemen. The issue has been, would Mike McDaniel, or I should say the thought was, would Mike McDaniel come into the team and Frank Smith and then all these coaches that had all this offensive line experience, could they kind of guide and steer Grier with, hey, Mike McDaniel's a tape guy, right? Do we remember? I wish I remembered the number that they gave as Mike McDaniel left San Francisco, they gave him, here's all the cut-ups I made for you, like the film guys. Here's all the cut-ups I made for you that you requested during the time you were here. I wish I remembered the number, but I feel like if I say a number, I'm going to say it way low. Like, I feel like that number was like 78,000, or was it 780,000? It was some ridiculous number. It couldn't have been 780,000, right? It was like some 78,000 or some crazy number. I'm sure somebody listening remembers that stat or remembers that number or knows that number. It was some crazy number. So Mike McDaniel, obviously a film guy. Mike McDaniel worked with Kyle Shanahan. Mike McDaniel, running back specialist. And part of the reason he's running back specialist, as we just heard on his interview with Mike Silver, if you didn't hear that interview, go back and listen. And Mike Silver, by the way, no big Dolphins fan, but huge San Fran fan. So connection there with those guys. If you guys didn't know, Mike Silver, like kind of more entwined, almost like a local, almost like a Barry Jackson, if you will, if Barry Jackson was national, but still kind of like Jeff Darlington for us, right? That's the connection there. They had, Mike McDaniel mentioned that I was like kind of getting into these meetings and I really wasn't part of the conversation because I didn't have anything to contribute that these other guys didn't already know. So I had to find my niche, and his niche was the running game. Big part of the running game, blocking. So Mike McDaniel knows what an offensive lineman looks like, what it should look like, what it should look like coming out of college. Obviously, they've done a good job drafting it in San Fran as well. He knows all that. So where were you, brother, last year when Zach Tom was sitting there and you let Grier, or did you even want, even another toy, I say selfishly, after you just got Tyreek and you'd signed Cedric Wilson and you'd signed Trent Sherfield, and you'd signed River Craycraft, that you then went and drafted? Did you talk him into that? Like, who's responsible for us not drafting Zach Tom? Because it's the biggest hole on our team right now, and it was sitting there, and you could have had him and been paying him, I don't know, what is it, $525,000 a year, whatever the heck the veteran or the rookie minimum was when you draft down in that area. It's not real high. Where were you? That's kind of concerning, too. I thought you were going to kind of get him straight in the one spot, in my opinion, that Chris Grier has failed, and that's offensive lineman. So now we come to this year. We don't have a ton of picks. Obviously, we traded a third round for Ramsey. Well, you can't not trade a third round for Ramsey if you can fit him into your cap, right? That was just a no-brainer. We're gonna cut Byron Jones, obviously June 1st cut. That's when we'll see that money, that $13 million or whatever it is we're saving there. And we've got X. Hoping X is a little healthier this year. We know that he was playing through some stuff last year. I think he's still talented. I know he made the Pro Bowl. I didn't feel like he had a Pro Bowl year, but you got to take Ramsey, man. You just got to. You just got Fangio. You're giving Fangio some new toys. You got some new toys last year. Man, you got to – if you guys are going to draft – a tackle, that's the second round or the third round pick we have left, you guys are planning on drafting your right tackle there, you better not freaking miss this time. You better not miss. And another concern I have is, does Chris Grier, and I wonder if GMs do this in general, I hope so, I would bet they do. Chris Grier's a good GM. Does he go back to these drafts? Does he look back and see, Zach Tom was sitting there and I didn't draft him, so what did I miss? So why is it Green Bay and some other teams keep finding these guys in second, third, fourth rounds, and I keep missing them and drafting the wrong guys or just passing over them? What's going on there? If his mindset is, I can't focus on the last draft, we got to focus on the next draft. Well, that's not what coaches do, right? Coaches, Monday morning, you come sit in and what do you do? What do they do with the players? Let's look at everything we did, and let's look where we screwed up so we can fix it. Once in a blue moon, maybe they'll just say, that game was such a crap show. We lost 45-0. We ain't even watching that film. We're moving on because there's just nothing to learn from it. We just had a really bad day. I would hope that Chris Grier is going back and looking at the misses when he drafted a guy he shouldn't have. All right, what did I see in that guy? What did I miss? What did I miss from his college tape? What did I miss from the scouting? What questions did I not ask of my other college scouts? Whatever it might be. I really hope that he goes back and does that, because coaches do that. I mean, you should do that. But whatever it is, man, you got to get this straightened out, man. And whoever is going to be guiding him on this pick, if it indeed he decides to go right tackle, I know many are thinking we might go tight end. I mean, who knows? We could go defensive tackle. I don't know. They could just go BPA. They've got their heart set on a guy. Who knows what we do? It could be another defensive player. That's been the kind of the big thing for us this year and this offseason. Last year was the offense. This year's the defense. Get Fangio some toys, like I said. I hope that they get him straightened up in the right spot. I really do. All right, that's it. That's the show. But just want to give a big thanks again to our sponsors, You Break Wheel Fix. Again, that number is 305-748-0112. Hit them up on the socials, etc., etc. And then, of course, prizepicks.com. Go to prizepicks.com. $100 match for your $100. Boom. Maybe you make some money. Like Lewis. Lewis has been killing it over there. He's killing it in basketball, and he'll continuously say, I don't even know anything about basketball. That's what's awesome. And you can do it everywhere. You can do it in Florida. It's not considered gambling. It's considered fantasy. So you can play anywhere, and you can play year-round. They got every kind of sport in there. So make sure you check it out. That promo code is 5, F-I-V-E, 5. All right, everybody, thanks a lot. Thanks for listening. I know you didn't have your regular host today. I think I'm going to be on probably at least one more time this week. I know I'm doing the Friday show. Might do one other show for Lewis while he's out of town. I appreciate it very much, everybody, and fins up.